has a message.
Will bless you from the highest place. The highest place is always heaven. The beauty of transfiguration and translation. The kingdom that is now present. Glorious blessings to you in the name of Jesus, and the marvelous presence of the Father, and the glorious, glorious presence of the seraphims that hold the keys to the kingdom age, and the blessed seven spirits of God that rule and reign, the seven spirits of God upon the earth. I'm here today with my guardian angels, Aquila and Priscilla. I'll tell you more about them in the time to come. But they have marvelous gifts of revelation for this current kingdom age, and they are apparitions from heaven of glorious, glorious thrones within the kingdom of God. And they are guardian apparitions of the royal guard of God's kingdom age. Well, today we're going to be talking about a revelation that God has been pouring into my spirit for the season of time that many people need to understand the realms and the multi-dimensional, multifarious ways of God. And why, when He speaks and says in the book of Proverbs, as a man thinks, so is he. As a man thinks, so does he clothe himself in the glory of his beliefs. Even if that glory is so very diminished that he is ragged with the poverty of his faith. And the fact that even as a man believes, so can his very own skin be transfigured in a moment.
Get me out of here!
You look like that Johnny Blaze.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. Nah, that is you. That's him.
Yeah, it is.
I saw you jump in the state fair a few years ago. I paid $10 to watch you splatter. But you didn't.
Looks like somebody's tripping out. You might be a big shot out there, Blaze, but in here you ain't nothing but a monkey in a cage.
No, I don't want any trouble. I don't want any trouble.
Looks like trouble just found you.
Nice jacket.
Come on, man. Leave him alone.
Get lost!
Jacket's nice. I got it.
With just hearing the voice of Jesus. As Jesus spoke to the leper and said, after the leper asked him, "Would you heal me? Would you cleanse me? Would you make me whole?" Jesus spoke and said, "I will that you be whole."
Excuse me. Mr. Hammond. Good morning, detectives.
Just like you planned.
And his will. So you got to understand, wills are a possession of knowledge. When you collect the will of knowledge, you're always collecting from a father that represents the kingdom. Because Jesus said, "You have no other father but the Father God," meaning that every father of the earth is the head of the family, as was Adam, opposing or imposing the will of God for your life. And the will of God, according to the Father of choice that you choose to live by, will give you the clothing of the family garments. And that is why a father can impose his will. And in the imposition of will, you can be transfigured. As Jesus often said throughout many of his messages in his final dissertation, in the latter chapters of the book of John, he said, "If you've seen me, you've seen the Father." Now, faith is what? Faith is the will of God in a person. Whatever is truthfully knowledge is the will of that person, meaning that people can have agreeable faith or oppositional faith, and each person is absolutely true about the current kingdom reality for that person. And when you have an opposition of faith, meaning lesser faith or more faith, the will of the Father in the certain person that chooses the reality will indeed have the imposition of faith known as the prevailing will. And in this we also understand oppositional faith among leaders. As David had oppositional will of the Father against the oppositional knowledge and faith of Goliath, the will of the Father absolutely won out in the will of David. So great faith and a great will can be in a small body. Now, As the Father was explaining things to me, He started to reveal mysteries to me that have happened in my life, and He started to explain things about parallel universes, multi-dimensional facets, multi-earth ages, multi-kingdom ages.
My companion drew in the dank, cold air of the tomb. It seemed to strengthen him. I stood in the doorway between light and dark. What was left of my sanity implored me not to enter. But that voice was just a whisper now. As we worked our way down, deeper and deeper into the crypt, I began to see a change in my companion. He seemed to be gaining strength. I could hardly see in the gloom.
And the possibility of time travel, and the fact that time travel does exist, and the fact that you can take a quantum leap into a new season of time known as what Paul said, when the trumpet sounds, there is a transfiguration within the twinkle of an eye, meaning that the whole earth can experience a quickening and an awakening that is absolutely transfigurable to you, meaning that you make a quantum leap into an eternal future that then becomes your eternal present, meaning that some people have contracts and wills with the Father to make quantum leaps throughout the millenniums, even into the age of things that are not present for some people. This is known as time travel. Now, what the Father was showing me is when I was in the hospital in 2010, due to a martyrdom that I experienced and a near-death experience that I had, dying in the streets, beaten for my faith, witnessing the blood trickling down my face as I was struck on the brow by an attacker, somebody that I had witnessed Christ to, and he gave his life to Christ. He was in a battle with the streets and drugs and drug trafficking. He struck me on the brow, and I began to bleed and manifest the bleeding of Jesus. It was transfiguring his life, turning him from a rotten sinner into a glorious Son of God. And his final blow was to my lower rib cage and punctured my kidneys. And in this time, I went into the hospital for 20 days. And in this time, I sat down with somebody, and it was a very strange occurrence. I could sense the faith in this person. And we were talking about the current kingdom age as it was a reality to each of us. And we were comparing notes at the table in the hospital about the book of Revelations. Now, what the Father has revealed to me and what he has revealed about his current present kingdom age to me and his will towards me and with me is that we are in the book of seals, the seventh seal, first trumpet, which means a third of the trees are going to burn. Those who deny the use of the trees to print the books to counsel the earth about the kingdom, those who deny that privilege, their very resources are going to be burned up. Those who decide to corrupt the earth with printed literature of things that are no longer needed in the earth according to the current present age of the kingdom, those trees are going to be denied them. They're going to burn up. And the very books that would come from those will never be written, meaning knowledge will vanish because of his wrath. And so, according to the kingdom contract God has with me, every single person was blessed with all spiritual blessings in heavenly places, chosen before the foundation of God. Our thrones have existed before the foundations of the earth in the eternal ages of heaven. And as that time frame has manifest over the millenniums, our kingdom throne to this present kingdom age is a very extensively great throne called the full stature of Christ. It's the apparition of the Godhead. It's the apparition of Christ's throne. As it says, we are seated with him in heavenly places. So there are seats in heavenly places. There have been seats for millenniums. You have been seated for millenniums. And the Father was showing me that throughout time, this throne has had many apparitions, many manifestations and incarnations of its throne, your full stature, meaning you have possibly, throughout the millenniums, been different characters throughout the history of time. Okay? That is why Elijah was caught up in a fiery chariot, translated, his remains were never found because his body evaporated in the transfiguration as he left the earth. He reached complete sainthood and immortality on the earth. And he was reincarnated, as Jesus said, if you can receive it, John the Baptist is Elijah. What he knew is that the throne that represented Elijah now represented John the Baptist. A new apparition and a new incarnation of that throne. Now the Lord has revealed to me that the two witnesses in the seventh seal is indeed the transfiguration of Jesus, Elijah, and Moses on the mount. And the disciples saw the transfiguration of Jesus. It was a transfiguration of the seventh seal. It was an apparition, transfiguration where Jesus met with Elijah and met with Moses from the future of the seventh seal. that was the time frame that the Father revealed was the Transfiguration. They were looking at the end from the beginning. And Moses and Elijah both spoke to Jesus about the coming cross that Jesus would face. They were speaking from the end of time at the present of the fifth seal when Jesus appeared on the earth, the fifth millennium since the day of Adam's rest. A day is a hot season in the Hebrew, which means the rest that Adam was in was a hot season, meaning it was many, many, many years, possibly a millennium or more, since Adam existed on the earth. Now the reality is, the Transfiguration happened, and then Jesus stepped down and imposed his will upon the earth, laying down the kingdom law, the fullness of his righteousness, by the power of grace, imposing grace upon people until they became as faithful as he was. And he said very clearly, there are some here that will not taste of death. Now the Father revealed to me that there has been prophets on the earth, people that have been hidden, that have been immortal, and they've simply never aged. He told me that they changed time zones, they changed legal identification, their names are changed, their identifications are changed, their jurisdictions are changed, and they are walking throughout time.
When man, in his search for truth, has given up all selfish striving after unworthy things, and has ceased to use his self-will in conflict with the greater will of the whole. Man is not separate from his divine source, and never has been. He is, in reality, one with the infinite. Infinite life and power. This power is of the Spirit.
Now the Father spoke to me as I was musing at this conversation I had with this fellow. We were talking about the kingdom age that we understood, and he spoke to me and he said that Jesus had been preparing him to come to him on the earth. And I did not deny it because it sounded very authoritative and very real. And it began to make me wonder which kingdom age I was in and if the knowledge I had was accurate. And then he spoke to me and said that he had heard the voice of Jesus and that Jesus was present on the earth and in Jerusalem. And then I didn't want to discount it, so I listened and I didn't judge it. And then he said that it was all across the TV channels and that people were preparing to go and meet Jesus on his throne in Jerusalem. And of course I had the question if this guy was crazy, but it began to make me wonder, since I had been beaten and had a near-death experience and had died in my body and went to heaven and then came back. I wondered if something had happened that I missed since I was away from the TV. I wondered if Jesus had returned. And I wondered just how much the earth had been transfigured. And I was very dumbfounded. And he said, "Oh, haven't you heard that Jesus is back?" And it was not a lunatic situation. He said, it's all across the TV channels. And I was very dumbfounded. And he said, he told me that he said he was preparing himself to go to Jerusalem and meet him himself. And then I began to see in this revelation that in this kingdom age that he was speaking about, people will indeed prepare their hearts, and the only ones that will have access to see him in the apparition of that kingdom age will be the people that are prepared for it. And it was there for a moment, and then he was transfigured. He became full of health throughout his journey at the hospital, and he walked out, and I immediately thought he must be on his way to meet Jesus. So I was getting prepared to get out of the hospital and getting my own heart prepared for the reality of what he said. And then as Paul said, knowledge vanishes. Jesus said through Paul in Corinthians chapter 13, the tongues will cease and knowledge will vanish. We prophesy in part, but in the time of visitation we will know in full. So many days and many hours and many months later, I've come to the reality of where I'm at with the Father. And I understand that we are in the Book of Seals Book of Seals, the seventh seal, first trumpet. In my kingdom reality, I see the evidence. All of British Columbia is on fire. New York is an apocalyptic zone of ash, ember, and very tragic health in the air. I see the results of the trumpet that is sounded in the transfiguration of the age. Now, in this reality, I began to reckon with God the other day, and I said, I remember that conversation. And the Father spoke to me and said that he was a messenger. He was a prophet from the kingdom age where Jesus is present on the earth. And I said that was very odd. It was very real. And he said it was extremely real. And then the Lord spoke to me and said he was trying to take me into that kingdom age. And it would have been a quantum leap from where I had been before I died. It would have been a quantum leap, and it would have been a time travel to the current kingdom age that he was walking in. Meaning I was walking in a parallel universe. I saw the future, just like Jesus. I was transfigured to the moment of the seventh seal after the witnesses had already died and been raised, and Jesus had come back. I was in that kingdom age for a moment in time. I saw the future from the beginning of my life where I was at, and then it all vanished away. And according to the faith that the Father gave me, I have been here in the present kingdom age according to the seventh seal. Now the Lord said, no matter what a man believes, so is it. He is transfigured into that reality. He's transfigured into that kingdom age. That is why you can never deny the prophecies people speak. What they speak is the manifestation of the current transfiguration of the multi-dimensional relationship of the kingdom age that they are relating to, and what they believe manifests and transfigures around him. And the Father spoke to me, and he began to give me an understanding of a revelation that I had one day. I saw the map of my state, and I saw one current existence, and there was a lot of suffering. And then I saw a new layer come down, and it was a more glorious map. It was more color. It was not orange and dingy like an old map. It was a layered map, and there was more glorious colors. And then it began to grow and grow, and I saw this glorious layer after layer after layer coming down and going underneath my feet. And I saw this whole earth age of people that did not take the quantum leap of faith that I was receiving in this vision being put under me. Meaning they were walking in a multi-dimensional area of the kingdom age, of the earth age that they were living in, but I was no longer living in. And then as I began to go through these layers and come to the top layer, the kingdom law was laid down and there was a transfiguration. My whole reality changed. I was walking on a new map in time. whereas other people were experiencing a completely different age. I had made a quantum leap. The people that didn't take the leap with me were in a different reality, and it began to manifest as I went in and out of the courtships of eternity. Sometimes I met people that were in the past Earth Age. We met for a moment. They had an opportunity to come up to the current level of transfiguration I was walking in. Some people did, and some people denied it. They went down to the lower parts of the kingdom layers of the multi-dimensional relationship of kingdom ages. Now, I will share more in the next broadcast to come, but stay tuned. As you believe, so are you transfigured into the kingdom age that you believe.